Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we have what many would consider the Kendrick Lamar at BRD, Aaron Sessions, on today for the pod. We're stoked to have him. Aaron's coming back in his second year as a returning rep. We were just talking right before we got on air about just kind of like how it wasn't that long ago that you were in here. We were making stuff happen, and here we are about ready to start year two.
Yeah, super excited to be here as well.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. So let's rewind back a little bit. Aaron and me are both from the same hometown of Spanish Fork, Utah. He comes from a good part of the world. But Aaron, kind of like walk us forward on like your sales journey. Like, do you have anything that was early entrepreneur, kind of like in like high school, growing up, like mission that kind of brought you here, and then just walk us forward.
I'd like to start out first with that. We figured out that you grew up like 2 streets behind me in Spanish Fork. I don't know if you remember that, but when it comes to the sales portion of it, I never really, like in high school and all of that, never thought that I would like do a bunch of sales and stuff like that. But then after I got home off my mission, Toby, who's on the podcast earlier, he started working with you guys, and then kind of we went out to dinner, and I met you guys, and I was like, okay, I kind of like this deal. But what's kind of my passion as well is like medicine. That's what I'm doing right now, right? And that's kind of the thing that drives me forward, is to have just kind of like a fruitful life, right? And so sales, as I found, it's kind of been kind of that thing that's pushed me forward in terms of like pushing myself, of knowing my worth, of like actually what I want to do in the future. And so I think kind of people say this a lot, is that the mission kind of changed me, and it kind of made me like, okay, like if I can sell God, I can sell most things, right? So that's kind of where like it kind of piqued my interest. But then when I got home and I met with you guys, and I kind of saw everything that like you guys stood for, and that what you guys like your aspirations were, it just kind of hooked me in. So
cool, I love it. Well, and let's talk a little bit. Like, I went on a LDS mission after I'd sold, so I'd learned a lot of like going up to strangers and stuff like that, like kind of prior. What are some things that maybe your mission kind of like enhanced? I guess I learned a lot of those, like some of those skills like right before I went out. But what were some things that you like learned on your mission that you feel like dramatically affected your sales career?
Honestly, I think the biggest thing that I kind of wanted to point out today is just hard work and work ethic, because that's one thing that I found during the summertime, that like having a why as to why you're actually out there trying to sell bug juice to random people. Having a why is really important. And on my mission, like the why was, I had to build the why. I didn't go out on my mission already knowing like, okay, I'm going to preach the word of God to everybody. I was just kind of trying to figure things out on my own. And so then when I figured it out and had my why on my mission, it really kind of drove me forward. So then like this first year, the thing that kind of drove me forward a lot was trying to figure out what my why. And coming into this next year, that's going to be like my biggest emphasis as well, is understanding why I'm doing the things I'm doing on a daily basis. Why every 2 hours am I trying to figure out how many doors I've knocked, how many sales I've got, what I need to change. So I would say like my why was the biggest thing that it taught me, is understanding what I actually want in this life as well.
That's dope. Maybe what were some things that you weren't expecting that ended up being harder in door-to-door than you were like anticipating? Like a lot of times, like I didn't really know what I was getting myself into the first summer when I went out. But I like learned pretty quickly. Was there anything like that that kind of shocked you that you're like, oh, I wish I would have been better prepared on that?
I think it goes back to that why as well. Because like when it came to talking to people, no problem with that. I could talk to whoever I wanted, make jokes. It was all good. My biggest thing, honestly, when it came to last year that I had to overcome, and that I really want to put the emphasis on, is making sure, like just kind of what Oakland always says, is at 12:30 you're already out there, you're knocking on doors, and you don't stop until you're the last one knocking on doors. Because I think that was probably my hardest thing, is just kind of getting the door shut in your face over and over again. You kind of start building up a kind of a story in your head and as to why you can leave a little bit earlier at night. But if you just stick it out and you really work till 9:30, it really does like change your mindset, and the next day is even better, and you can get even more sales just based upon that that attitude that you had from the last day.
I like that you put the emphasis on selling early and selling late. Pest Routes one time released a study where they showed like, and they have all the data for most of the companies that sell here around the valley, and they found that like the highest producing guys sell the exact same between, I think it was like midday and like 7 o'clock as like a lot of lower performing reps. The difference is that, like you said, getting out early and then staying later.
Yeah.
And it's like you really aren't, like a lot of times reps will be like, oh, they just say something different than me or whatever. And they actually don't. They just do it a little earlier and a little longer than most people are willing to go.
Yeah, that was my first day when I was being trained by the one and only Oakland Goodsell. The first thing that, like one of the first things that he told me is just he gets out there and he tries to get one sale before anybody else. And that's like his mindset at the very beginning of the morning. And so kind of for him, it's a confidence thing. And for me, it is as well. Like if you can get that one sale and just know that, okay, today, like I already have one, let's just go get the next one. It just takes so much pressure off of you. And so if you can start earlier and get that first sale before anybody else, your confidence just goes out of this world.
Yeah, it relieves the anxiety, makes you uber confident. No, that's a great tip. As far as like getting out there, kind of throughout the summer, a lot of times people get like in their head about different areas and stuff. What are some things you would do to kind of like, if you were having a tough time in an area, what were some different tips or things you learned to like still produce or kind of keep things going? Like what would you look for to kind of like keep things alive in your area?
I think my biggest thing is my mindset going out to the doors of like, I always listen to a podcast when I'm going out to sell. And then while I'm out there, the biggest thing I would say to like keep me going and keep me motivated all day long, or if it was a hard area, what to change up is something that you told me actually is every 2 hours, try to figure out where you're at and what you've done in the last 2 hours. Because if you look at the whole day as the 8, 9, 10 hours thing, it can be a little daunting every single day. But if you just break it up into 2-hour blocks of, okay, for these 2 hours, I got to go talk to 20 different people and I need to sell at least 3 of them. And just kind of that mindset every 2 hours of resetting. For me, it helped a lot of just resetting my mindset every 2 hours. So
that's cool. Maybe was there someone on the team last year that you kind of looked up to on like their pitch or their process or stuff like that you're like, oh, like there was a lot of things I learned from there that I was able to take away, like maybe one of the guys you were selling with, and yeah, just talk to me on that.
The 2 people that come to my mind are like Oakland and also Ty Bailey. Ty, he is somebody that just is super calm and super relaxed. It doesn't matter if he just got 50 doors shut in his face, if he's got the cops called, the gun pulled, and whatever it is. He always was super loose, super calm. One thing that he did that I thought was super funny is whenever he started, like his motivation would go down, he would then like switch into a country accent and then like knock on somebody's door and like do it in a country accent, and it would just loosen him right back up. So I tried doing that one time. It didn't work out. But
you need stuff that make you laugh, and that's the thing. I think people get lost in the sauce a lot of times when they're thinking about what we do. Is they're like, I'm gonna be super serious, I'm gonna be super hardworking, and some of the highest producing people I know are funny. They're charismatic, and that I think feeds in really, really well to your success. A lot of times when I was playing sports growing up, I would see in my high school gym that like it kind of got so negative that like, you gotta work hard, run, and there is that, like you need to be working hard, but then you look at some of the pros and they're funny, they're having fun, they're loose, they're connected with other people and situations. And so I think the top tier people are good at that. They're good at having fun even in tight situations.
Yeah. I think the biggest things when it comes to like the top performers is they don't practice on the doors. They practice before, during the off season, they train. So then when it is time to actually like in the MLB or the NBA, right? All of those guys are super loose when they're playing. because they practice for years and years and years, so that for that one moment that they have that opportunity to make a difference in the game, they don't even have to think about it. They're just loose. They go out and just hit a grand slam to win the World Series, right? So that's my biggest takeaway from that as well, is just make sure you don't practice on the doors, but practice before you even get out there. So
I love that. Well, let's talk about product knowledge. I think a lot of times in sales we talk about like the tactics of how to get people to do something, but not often enough I think we talk about like service we're actually providing, like knowing the different chemicals and knowing like invoices and stuff like that. Could you give us some tips of like those kind of things that helped you in your sales journey? Was there anything like, oh, because I knew this about demand, or I knew this about a competitor? What were some of those things that like maybe actual knowledge of pest control that you would recommend people knowing before they get out there for the summer?
Yeah, like for me, it was really my first couple of weeks. I would probably call Oakland 3-4 times a day and be like, hey, what does Demand CS actually do? Like, does it do this? Do we treat armadillos? And like all of these random stuff, because I had absolutely no idea what was the product that I was even selling. But I would say just keep it simple. Like, you don't need to know like the chemical formula for each one of the pesticides that you're selling, but just understanding that this is a product that's going to help the customer, and that it will help for basically all of their needs when it comes to pests. Especially down in Texas, they have an immense amount of bugs, and every single product that we use covers all of these bugs. And so if you kind of have that in your backpack and just understand that if they need help with scorpions or fire ants or spiders, like, it's going to be covered. You just got to make sure you also say it confidently, because even if you are saying the right things, but you're saying it a little timidly, like, I don't know if like this is actually what it does. But if you say it very confidently, like, of course, Mrs. Smith, like, this is what actually helps with the spiders. You'll get rid of them right now. That I would say that's the biggest thing, is just when it comes to confidence, just know what you're selling. If you need help when it comes to a certain product, just always call your manager. So
that's one of the moments in life when it's important to be definite. A lot of times when people are like, I think, or this could, it's not reassuring when someone's buying something. And so you never want to speak something that's not true, but the things that you do know, you want to speak in a very clear, definite way.
Yeah.
Kind of, whereas the opposite, when you're like giving someone advice or correcting someone, and you want to be a little bit more like, well, maybe this. But in a sales setting, I think it's very important to like have a very reassured tone and also context behind your voice.
Yeah. I mean, the whole sales process is building value, right? Nobody, like, customers, like, the more you have value behind what you're selling them, the least they'll care about what it's costing them. And so if you can build up that value, and for example, if you don't know and you kind of come off a little timid about like, oh, I actually don't know about these products, then like the value of what you're actually selling isn't going to be there. But if you can have that confidence to say like, oh yeah, of course, like I know these products do X, Y, and Z, then they can understand like, okay, you believe in this product, you understand that it's a good thing. Yeah, I'll buy it from you. So.
Yeah, I love that. Let's talk sales competitions really quick. How were those motivating you last summer? I mean, we're kind of ideating right now on like, should we mix this one up? Should we do this? What were some of your favorite comps and why?
One of my favorite ones is, I think it was the big one last summer.
The brawl.
Yeah, it lasted forever and maybe shortened a little bit this year. But the first couple of weeks were super intense. And I remember one day I was going against, I don't even remember who it was. And it was one of my not so great days. I think I had like 2 accounts in the first like 4 hours of the day. And the person I was going against had like 5, and I was like, oh my gosh. And so I came home. Next day I was like, I cannot lose to this. I won't do this. And that next day I ended up selling 11 or 12 accounts. And I think and I was like, I'm not losing to this. And then the very next round, I got put against Joseph Anderson. And every single time I would sell account, he would sell account. Every time I would, he would. And I would look at our revenue and I'd be like, this dude is selling like 1,100 accounts consistently. I don't know how he's doing this. So it motivated me a lot to just like build more value in what I was selling and try to sell those bigger accounts that he was selling. And so I liked that I was able to see somebody else's perspective, and I didn't even know him at this time.
Yeah.
But I understood that he was selling $1,100 accounts just over and over and over again. I was like, okay, if he can do that, I can do this as well. So that was my favorite competition that we did all summer long.
Maybe we should do 2 of those then. One at the beginning, one at the end.
Yeah.
I like that idea. I think that can make things pretty entertaining. Well, cool. That's a good thought. And as far as like, I mean, obviously there's a lot of other offices that were out this last year. What's crazy is we're doubling the amount of offices that will be out. And I felt like last year each office had a vibe, like a different kind of culture and stuff. Like if you had to like put your finger on like, this was the Dallas office last year, this was the Austin office last year, this was the Utah office. What in like one word? I'll give you the office, you give me one word.
Ooh.
Okay.
I would say, okay, I might get a little backlash for this one. I would say Dallas would be daycare. Would be Dallas. That's just what, there's just so much going on up there, and every time I heard anything about Dallas, it was just like, wow, there's about 20 different pieces every single day that are moving. So don't take that very seriously, but that's just kind of what I thought. Austin, what's a better word for cult? I think, yeah, no. I just remember always hearing that in the morning. Gage would pump up his guys, and they would just like do chants and stuff in the morning. And I just remember hearing that and be like, wow, that's so much different from down here. So those were kind of my 2 things from the other 2 offices. The one, like our office in San Antonio, it was like, it didn't even almost feel like a sales team. It just kind of felt like a group of buddies we were just there. We'd meet up with each other every single morning, talk about sales, drive out, go to lunch. The day just go sell some bug juice and then come home and play some video games or just hang out with one another. So it was I'm very biased in this stance, but I just liked how it didn't have the vibe of like, okay, we're out here to just cut throat, sell pest control. It was just like, we all know we're good. We all know that we can go sell pest control every single day, and let's just have fun while we're here, and then we're out on the doors. Let's just go pump out 11, 12, 15 accounts a day sort of thing.
Yeah.
So
cool. I like that. That was a fun one. Thanks for going with me on that segment. You're really well known around your community. I've been recruiting a lot this year, and a lot of times when I'm getting someone from like Spanish Fork or even from the MTC, they're like, "Hey, I know that guy. Hey, like I've seen Aaron or whatever." Like, were you ever on student body or like what? How did you get to know everyone back then?
I just because I played baseball and basketball in Spanish Fork. I was very like everybody kind of knew me, but I wasn't super social in high school. Like I just kind of kept to myself. I went out, would just go play baseball, go to the basketball games. Like everybody saw me and they knew me, but I didn't really get out there and talk to a lot of them as much as I wish I would have. But I think a big reason why a lot of people know me is just because, like, I never was very, like, arrogant in that sense. I was very just calm, just went to school to get good grades, learn more, and then I would come home. But then when it came to, like, the MTC, I taught at the MTC for a little while. This was after I came home from my mission, and I had a confidence to me, and I knew who I was. I knew that's what I was wanting to be doing in that exact times. And I was just a very confident individual. So every missionary, because I was a Spanish tutor as well, and so I met with 60 plus missionaries every single day. And so my biggest thing was just I wanted to make an impact on those missionaries and like somebody that they could actually remember. So I would just try to be myself, just try to be loose and just help them understand that like God is number one in our lives, no matter what, where we are on our paths, that we should always keep God first. So
I love that. No, and one thing that I think we can all speak on, and we all know will affect our sales career is our schedule. I wanted you to talk really quick on like some of your worst days, what your schedule would look like, and then I want you to talk about on your best days what your schedule would look like. And maybe we can break down some of the differences for everyone listening to the pod.
Yeah. I think we'll start with worst days. My worst days, I think were the days that I was the laziest in the mornings. It's days that I was like, oh, I'm just tired. I'm not going to wake up at 8, 7 a.m. I'm going to sleep a little bit more. I'm just going to sit here, and then I'm going to rush to go get ready and then go to the morning meeting sort of thing. And it was just kind of so chaotic. And like, you just didn't feel good about it. So the good days that I had were a lot more like, I'm going to wake up at 7 a.m. I'm going to go read my scriptures. I'm going to go make sure that I'm getting a workout in the morning, just kind of everything to keep my mind in order. So then when I'm on the doors, it was just, I'm there. I don't have to think about everything else that's going on. And that was honestly, like, whether you're religious or not, I think some sort of like spiritual health or spirituality in your life is very important. There's this one guy, his name's Iman Gadzi. He's
his stuff.
Yeah, when I got home from my mission, I started to see some of his stuff, and it kind of stuck out to me because he was 24 years old and he was a multimillionaire. And I was like, what is this guy doing? Like, he knows what's up. So I bought into one of his courses just to kind of invest in myself and understand what was going on. And it helped me a lot. But like, one of the things that I've noticed about all of these millionaires or billionaires is every single one of them has a very scheduled life. They don't leave gaps to just go chill out in bed and watch YouTube. Yeah. Every single moment of the day is dedicated to something, and they wake up at 7 a.m. every single morning, go do their morning routine, go to meetings, and then go to bed at the exact same time every single night. And so that's one of my bigger focuses coming into this summer as well, is every single morning waking up at 7 a.m., going reading my scriptures, going and working out, studying a little bit, planning my area, and then eating a good lunch as well, so that I kind of have that stability in my life. Because knocking on doors isn't stable. You come across especially in Texas, there's so many different people in Texas, and I love the people down there, and there's also a bunch of just people that you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know this person existed. Like,
some crazies.
So I think having that stability in the morning at the night really helps that uncertainty during the day kind of balance itself out.
That's cool. No, I think you brought up a lot of really good points there. Let's now transition to some of your favorite closes and some of your favorite things to do on the doors. What are some moves that you make that you're like, oh, I tried to make this a staple and I found a lot of success when I tried this?
The first thing that comes to my mind is, for some reason, everybody in Texas has a dog. Like, every single door I knocked on, they had a dog. And so one thing I started to do is just like, as soon as they open the door, I'd be like, hey, I like your guard dog. Or that's a nice guard dog. And most of the time it'd be a dog that's just like a little chihuahua. And so it just kind of made them laugh. And so the second they opened the door, I would get them to laugh. And then I started doing that door after door after door after door. And I understood that, like, this one little comment of just like, hey, I like your guard dog, like, for some reason it just made people laugh so much. And so I just kept doing that over and over and over again. And that was kind of that first wall I could just break down instantly. So that was kind of like the first thing that I liked starting out with. The thing that, when it comes to closes, the thing that I really like that you said, it's what Cade Orgill, he always, you told me that he studied ABCs of closing like almost religiously, and that he got to a point in the summer where he just knew, okay, this person's going to say this, I'm going to close with this close. They're going to say this, I'm going to close with that close. And so that's something that I tried to implement, and coming into this next summer I am implementing, is just every single time I have the opportunity to make sure I'm getting better at closing when the moment arises for a certain close, if that makes sense.
100%. I like that a lot. Yeah, Cade last summer, like, it'd be like the middle of the summer and he'd be like, high five. Like, whenever he wanted me to do something, and I'm like, Cade, like, I've read the ABC's closing, I know the high five close. But like, he almost couldn't separate the closes that he was learning from like the things that he was doing, and it was pretty funny to watch. But I think having a real good understanding of that book is really, really important. Mm-hmm. Well, cool. That's some great closes. What if we transition to, like, was there some learning experiences with the customer when you're like, they reacted this way, and so then I learned this, and that's something that maybe stuck with you throughout the whole summer? Was there a customer in mind that, or an interaction you had with one that you're like, oh, I learned that like listening is more important in this stage, or
Yeah. The first one that comes to mind is like, it was like my first or second week out on the doors. This guy, he just kind of came out guns blazing, and he probably wasn't going to buy either way. But
the customer.
Yeah, the customer. He just kind of came out just right at me, just like, whoa. And so like, and the one thing that I told him is I was like, yeah, I'm just from Utah. I'm like down here just selling. And he was just like, oh, like, so you're not even from down here. You're just down here trying to get my money. And so in that moment, like he wasn't going to buy either way, but it kind of taught me, like, people want to be personal with you. They don't want to just have some random dude that just flew out from a different state and is knocking on their door, and they don't want to buy from somebody like that. Like, if you go to any small town, every single person, every single house has the local bug guy, and they all have them. And so if you can make yourself feel like you're the local bug guy, people are way more inclined to listen to you and what you have going on. And so that's why I like kind of bandwagoning a lot, is because it kind of like incorporates yourself in with the community and everybody else that's there. Because you're like, oh yeah, I know that Johnson's up the road, he's a firefighter, right? And they're like, okay, like this guy kind of knows what's going on in this neighborhood, and he kind of fits in with us. And so that was kind of one of my biggest things.
Yeah, and also not causing alarm. Like, there's a lot of different things where you need to avoid saying certain phrases, letting things slip out. And not that you want to be deceitful, but more that you're like, like, for example, with a contract, you want to say it's an agreement. Like, you still want it, or with, like, you want to make it feel local. Hey, we're a family-owned and operated business. Just different things like that really make people more at ease, whereas it just takes one or two words to really slip up a sale. And so I think learning that word economy and also finding the right things to say that are honest and you can translate to the customer that go well are important.
Yeah.
Cool. I like that one a lot. Let's go over really some like just material and just stuff that you're like, hey, like I feel like this is a good quote to live by, or maybe like a good phrase that you're like, hey, this is something that I think any sales rep could take to heart and use in their day-to-day.
Ooh, that's a tough one. I think I'm a God-fearing man. That's what I live by, that, and that's who I am. And every single time that I go away from it, God pulls me right back in, and he shows me why it's so good to be next to him with everything you do. And so, like, I think separating God from work, God from school, like, it's not possible. You can't do it.
Yeah.
And so for me, like, the biggest thing that, like, I do is, like, humble yourself before God humbles you, is the quote that I kind of live by.
Cool.
Because I've just learned in this life that the second that you decide you can do it by yourself is the second that things go wrong. But if you use, like, the tools that God's given us being here on this earth, that things go a lot better.
Yeah. And kind of like with that same, like, sentiment, like the times when I'm knocking where I kind of have like this spirit of prayer in my heart, like when I'm like out knocking, like you can kind of feel it. You can feel when you're like, okay, like where do I need to be? Where do I need to go? And you're more present to the moment. Mm-hmm. Usually things go better. And then there's some times when I'm anxious, I've just had a Coke, I'm running all of that. Like I'm feeling so much more like I need money or this right now or whatever. But we've all been motivated by both things at times. And I think the more you can sit in that first camp of being present to the moment, aware of what the spirit or the vibe of that's around you, I think is an important thing to sales.
Yeah. Shout out David Jones. He's the one that, like, every single morning I would just, because he's a very amazing individual, because every single morning he would just, like, or night, you'd say, like, dude, good job, you just got 11 sales today. And he's like, yeah, like, I wouldn't be able to do it without God. Every single day he would say that. You would compliment him and he'd say, yeah, I just couldn't do it without God. And, like, every single day he would say it. And after a certain point, I was like, oh my gosh, like, he can't even take a compliment. Like, I'm trying to compliment you. But it was something that stuck with me a lot, that I still remember, that he really, like, he put all of his faith in God. And every single time he was knocking a door, he would do it with that in mind, that his emotions wouldn't go up or go down depending on the sale, but it was just what God wanted. So
that's cool. I like that a lot. Awesome. Well, just maybe kind of going into your second summer. There's always advice we can leave behind for like the new people coming in. What's something you would say? You're just like, hey, first years, this is what you need.
The thing that I would say to all the first years coming in here and saying, like, hearing all of the different things, like, oh, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to sell $500,000 worth of pest control, right? I know every single first year says that. They have this very big ambition about themselves, is like receiving, like selling a high number of pest control is like, you can do it. It's not impossible.
Yeah.
The thing that you do know that, like, you should know is that you have to work harder than anybody else if you want to get that. It's not just, I'm going to go out and sit on the side of the curb or sit in my car for 2.5 hours. I'm going to go sell more than the next guy. It's like the guy who is selling, like, for example, Oakland, selling $650,000 in 5 months. He's out there 11 a.m. until 9:30 p.m. On Saturdays, he's out there from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. He's out there every single day, and he doesn't take a break. He goes and knocks as many doors as he can, and he closes as many deals as he can. So if you're wanting to hit that high revenue mark and you're wanting to change your life and make all that money, like, make sure you are the hardest worker out there as well. So
I love that. Well, the thing that's reassuring about that too, though, is if you do put in the hard work, the money will come. Thousands of people leave this valley every year, and there's always a concern, like, can I do it? Like, is there ability? But I think just the fact that there is people that year after year that just go out and produce golden doors or just make enough for their living, that it's not a guessing game of like, oh, can I do this? It's more of like, if you commit to the process, you stay in, you stay hungry, you'll be able to get it. And that's one of the things that I like now. When I first started, I thought like sales was a little bit magic, like luck, all that other stuff. And now I'm starting to realize that the older that I get, that no, it's just a system, a game, and as long as you commit to it at the level that you need to, you might have a rough start, you might have a great start, but the people that really get to the end are the ones that see it through in the middle.
Yeah. And that was my biggest flaw from last year, is I started out, in my opinion, I started out pretty hot, and I started out good, selling 7, 8, 9 accounts a day. And then just slowly but surely, it just kind of started going down. If I had to do it all over again, I would keep that why front and center, and I would drive through every single day and go try to produce as much as I could every single day until the day I went home. Because I just remember seeing Cade, it was a Sunday. He was going home, and I just remember looking like at my phone and seeing like 6 accounts, and I was like, this can't be right. Did he like sign somebody up today that he sold yesterday? And then I looked later, and he was at like 11 accounts, and later it was like 12 accounts, and I'm like, it's a Sunday, why is he knocking doors? But I just remember thinking that and going, okay, this dude's going home tomorrow, and he didn't want to leave here on a bad note. Like, he was literally, even though it was Sunday, like, he still went out there and just produced as much that he could. So yeah, that's what I would say, is just make sure it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. Every single day, go out there, produce, and it's 90 days. It's 120 days. Like, it's not that long.
It's a short time, yeah.
It's a super short time. Just go out there and just grind it out.
Yeah, and if you think about it, like 2025, it doesn't feel like it's been that long, but that's basically the amount of time like that has passed is like what you'll actually be out there for the summer. And then it's basically over for the majority of people.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a short time to be out there. It's a fun time. It's a great time to learn. Dude, Aaron, thanks for being on today. I feel like we released a lot of good content to the fam.
Course.
And yeah, dude, I'm excited to see what you do this summer.
I'm too. I'm super excited. I'm getting married after the summer, and so that's my why this year, is just going in with that, starting my family out right, is being the provider in the family. And so that's my why, and every single day I'm going out there is for that purpose in mind. And so I know that my why is set in stone, and I know why I'm doing it. And so that's what I would encourage everybody who's listening to keep that in mind, is just, what is your why? And keep that on your mirror in your bathroom, keep it on your phone's your screensaver. just anything you can so you can remember every single day while you're doing it. So
Yeah. Wake up a purpose. Don't let a purpose wake up to you. So I think that's awesome. So Aaron, love you, brother. Appreciate you. And
love you too, dude.
BRD Nation, over and out.